Nigeria's gross domestic products grew year-on-year by 5% in the second quarter of 2021. The Q2 21 growth rate was higher than the 0.51% recorded in the first quarter of this year. Now, the National Bureau of Statistics disclosed that the oil sector's contribution to GDP fell by 1.83 percentage points to 7.42% in the second quarter. That's from 9.25% in the first quarter. A lot of numbers, a lot of quarters. Stay with me. Joining us, though, to pull all these numbers in context is an economist and financial expert, Dr. BONIFACE CHIZEA. Good to have you on the morning show. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Good morning, Doctor. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, a growth rate of 5.01%. Good news, isn't it, after what's been a tough time in this pandemic? Yeah. Tell us about it.
Well, I think it's good news. But then, also comments. We're hearing comments, and we had 0.51% growth in the first quarter, and nobody said anything. So now it's been reported that we have 5.01%, 5% growth. And then there's some comments. People are saying, it's not true. This is financial engineering. Somebody's trying to manipulate it, data, and so on and so forth. But I think that some of us who've been around and have tracked the activities of Bureau of Statistics, National Bureau of Statistics, I think what we can say definitely is that I think it has some integrity.
It does?
Yes. I remember that 2016, when Dr. Yemi Kale was expecting a tenure renewal, and then this country was in recession. And there's also some force on their lap to see if he was going to try and ingratiate himself, physical authorities, by trying to manipulate the data, because the economy going into recession is not good news for those governments. So it shows them off in a very bad light. But consistently, they kept to their business, and they reported the thing as it was then. And that was when some of us were sold on their integrity. Okay. So I would take whatever they give to us to the bank. So we'll say that.
Believable.
It's believable. So I think that. So we'll say that. I think that's where it is. So with 5 points, but also the 5% growth is relative to a base rate that's almost non-existent. So second quarter 2020, it was pandemic here. the economy actually contracted by minus 6.1%. And so you're talking of growth on that base. That's bound to happen. So I think that it's welcome development. I think also the thing to recall is the fact that this trend, we've witnessed this trend for 3 consecutive quarters, same, as a rate of inflation. Yes. So I think that we should begin to, yes, okay, it's not being felt at the level of demand on the street, but I think it's a welcome development, and the economy is moving in the desired direction. I think that's what we need to say. So, and I said to people, you wouldn't expect to begin to feel it at your level, because if you look at other indices, yes, and so you look at the rate of unemployment in this country, it's 1/3 of the workforce is unemployed. 33, almost 30%. You look at the rate of inflation is about 17 points. It's been coming down, but at 17.3 approximately, it's not sustainable. And so we have pandemic, and we have slowdown in activities. And it's not just Nigeria alone. Yeah. And but it's so we're probably doing the right things. And so what we say to the authorities, that whatever we're doing, we should keep doing it. Of course, the other things we could do. I'm sure as we go.
What this says to me, Doctor, is that business seems to be back fairly on track, post-pandemic, even though we're not totally out of
yes, people are traveling.
The virus.
Yes, businesses are back on track. If you look at the indices, you look at what you said, cost and the resound. You see ICT, you see telecommunications, you see road construction, roads, you see manufacturing.
So people are working.
So people are coming back. It's not getting to where we want to see it. And that's why, for instance, it has not impacted on the level of unemployment in the economy. So it will take some time before we get there. We have issues.
If we maintain
yeah,
that sort of growth.
But what we're saying is that what we are seeing, is it should be music to our ears. So it's what saying to us is that we're in the right direction. So we hope we'll get there, and we hope that with this Delta version of the virus,
like something that this type of news does to the psyche of an average Nigerian. It conveys good news and hope. Isn't it?
Yes.
Because this is the first time that the Buhari administration will have this sort of growth in 6 years. Isn't it?
Yes. 2014. Since 2014.
Since 2014.
The last quarter of 2014 is the highest.
Absolutely. But then, just like you rightly analyzed, there are other indices that are still, worrisome.
Yes.
Inflation is there. About 91% of the revenue of the federal government is being used to service debt.
Yes.
How do we balance this? Good news to the heirs on the one side, and then the other, stark realities that things are still very difficult for the average Nigerian.
Well, I think that what to say is that there are issues in the economy. There's no two about it. Yes, just saying the obvious. So if you take the rate of exchange, where it is today, I mean, it's worrisome. And then the monetary authorities, they're struggling with trying to maintain some stability. But what's important, the rate of exchange, is not the absolute rate. You want some stability for a business person. So if I'm going to do business, travel, I buy things and sell, I want some predictability. So if I come again, I'm going to do some calculations, and I'm going to go the next time. So to make sure that what profit margins am I going to get. When it's not predictable, then you have uncertainty. So you can manage risk as a business person, but uncertainty is something you can't manage. And so there are issues. And unfortunately, some of the things, some of the good news we've been expecting, to come on board, like Dangote Refinery, and then that seems to us of stories about the refinery, because some of us thought that if the timelines that were given, were maintained, that had production from that refinery, that was really going to be a game changer. But now...
I mean, it still could be.
But then we're hearing also stories about it. So. I don't have my inside...
But there will always be stories.
Of course, there will always be stories. Yes. But there are so many things that have been said. So there are so much issues of being over-leveraged and so on and so forth, and then the issues of things not being well managed. So that's one of the things you would expect, that level of investment. Certainly, one of the things you would expect any businessman that did that is to make sure that management is in place. And so if you go there and you have people operating in silos and boxes, and then competition is there, and then working across purposes, and then it's undermining what you're trying to do, and then, of course, your debts, obligations are mounting because nobody will wait for you. It's something that's time-driven. So as you delay and you don't pay, you default. The banks are there just to, add on and wait for you to come and negotiate. So there are lots of issues, And I thought that the government trying to buy into the refinery was a good move. I heard people saying that.
You thought it was a good move?
Yes, it's a good move because it's an enormous investment, and then so you don't want to have sort of investment with all the concessions we've given to that investment, which I support, and then you don't have an eye to what goes on there. It's not going to happen because we're going to have the production there. They're going to produce refined products. They're going to buy crude products from us, and then, so of course the currency of exchange, means of exchange, is going to be naira. So things are going to be happening, and you want to make sure that the Nigeria has an eye. Somebody sits on the board. Until now, even if they go to the refinery to the market, submarket, to get many people to buy into it. That's still a need for us, given the level of that investment and its impact, potential impacts, the fortunes of the Nigerian economy.
Undoubtedly, it is in the interest of the average Nigerian, not just the government or even the Dangote investors themselves, but in the interest of the average Nigerian that sort of project succeeds.
Yes.
And of course, if you look at if you situate that with the good news again from the federal government that for the first time NNPC made profit, in billions. You can say, okay, maybe something nice is, the Petroleum Industry Act has been passed,
Yeah, that's wonderful. The act is not passed, and there's some things being said. And the host communities and saying 3% is not. I say, they say 3% translates to, is it $500 million?
$500 million.
To me, it sounds like big money. So I say to myself, you're coming from where we're almost neglected. And you're getting 3% here, 5 to 5. Yeah. Take the 3%. See the impact of 3%.
Which they will. They're just arguing for more,
yes.
On the basis of justice,
so
equity.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You ask for more, but then you're not getting it. Don't pull down the house.
They won't.
We've spoken a lot about oil. If we look at the contribution of the non-oil sector to these numbers, where do you see the biggest amount of growth coming from?
Well, I think that's by preference, agriculture. Yeah, because you see, agriculture is the mainstay of Nigerian economy. So too about it. Oil, in terms of foreign exchange inflow, accounts for 90%.
You think agriculture is the mainstay of the Nigerian economy?
It is. Yes, its contribution to GDP.
Agriculture?
Yes, it's almost 25%. Oil is just about 9% to GDP. So, we're talking about totality of production, services, everything within the economy. And so, if you're talking of in terms of employment, also as agriculture.
Where do you place ICT and the creative economy?
ICT is coming. ICT is the way to the future. And so I think that we should do everything to encourage our youth, to begin to go in that direction. So ICT is there, but I would expect that they'll make big money, they'll pay tax and so on. But in terms of employing people, if you read the history of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg and so on, it started from a cubicle. Yes. And we made 2 of them and so on. And then it's gotten so big. So in ICT, if you have an economy as large as this, one of the things you are looking for, we're talking about where to concentrate, which ones would minimize the problems you have in the economy. One of the biggest problems we have in this economy is unemployment. Yeah. So I don't know. There aren't too many families that you go into and find somebody who's been a graduate for 4 or 5 years and has been going about looking for a job. And what has saved us is that Nigerians are very creative. So you go out there and then the informal sector in Nigeria.
Informal sector.
Yes. It's almost as big as that of Italy, if not bigger. So you have so many people who are taking out a living, and they're not, not in the mainstream. Yeah. So you had the lady that's selling her food by the roadside. You had the shoemaker and so on. So yes, and they get by.
It was the informal economy I recall in those days when former President Ibrahim Babangida, was worried about the economy, and he had to voice out that, the economy defied all logic. It was the informal sector, that kept the economy going because, the banks, were crashing, things, manufacturing was dead and everything, but the informal sector, was still there. So it looks like the role that the informal sector is still playing as of today.
It's enormous.
It is.
It's enormous. And also, when we're talking of GDP, so I feel that the GDP in this economy is undercalculated. So there's not much you can do about it. You can't do anything about it because the ones that can track, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, are just giving them a thumbs up. The ones they can track are those ones are mainstream. And so, the guy that is repairing phones and so on, nobody knows him, repairs phones and so on. You go to Computer Village over there, and then so many people, and so on. You go to Kiari and others. Many of them are not within the mainstream. And so, yes, okay, so that is GDP. And of course, all you have to say is that it's the same metric of measurement as being used across board. So the same metric you use in Nigeria, they use in Ghana. So in terms of comparability, it is. So they also have, but I'm saying that in terms of Nigeria, the informal economy is very large.
So what do economists like your good self look out for in a huge informal sector like that? And what will you recommend to government how to take that sector more seriously and then how to gain from it, because it contributes largely, to the GDP without it being adequately calculated?
I think that what government needs to do is to try and make the environment enabling for everybody. This is very important. So we're also talking about fuel price in the state governors want the thing to be hiked up by 200%. And then, of course, there's this argument, that people are saying that it's not going to affect, it's only for the car owners and so on and so forth. I say that's bladderdash. Yeah, because by the time you touch or you remove the subsidy, then it's going to spike in price. What we're seeing now is going to be child's play. So you have a spike at the price level, and it's going to cut across. And even if you say the big vehicles use diesel, then the man that's using the big vehicle and using the diesel will tell you that he goes to the market. And so he goes, and so his purchasing power is being eroded. And so he's looking for, how he's going to compensate for it, how he's going to make up for it.
Will the question of subsidy still subsist when, for example, a Dangote Refinery comes on?
It's interesting you're saying this. So I had some interesting conversation yesterday on one viable platform, and that was the argument. And I did say that there's no way that a Dangote comes, we will not have any subsidy again. And that's what is arguing, that you have to pay, we still have to pay international price. I say yes. Now, what's going to happen is that if you say the price overseas for this product is this in dollars, and we are going to deal in naira, there's so many things you have to factor in. You have to factor in the fact that what rate are we going to convert those things? So we're talking about subsidy. We are going to sell crude to Dangote Refinery.
Yes.
In naira.
In naira, yes.
Yes, and so we're also going to buy refined products in naira. And so even when you did that, we also have to factor in the fact that if you are bringing in this in as we've been doing so far, wrong-headedly we've been doing it. When you bring it in, you have to pay transportation, you have to pay your freight, you have to pay charges. Sometimes you pay demurrage and so on. Okay, so you factor on this. And if Dangote produces in Nigeria and is going to export, he's never going to sell it overseas as he was selling in Nigeria. I mean, he must recover first logistics, at least. Yeah, so whatever it is, it's going to impact. And then at that time, I think that what's happening now is that we hope that we're just having an NNPC, we're just celebrating the fact. I think that the president says that he says it doesn't want to be a failure. So
you sound very pessimistic about the refinery and its prospects.
No, okay. No.
Are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I think that it's a wonderful thing to happen, but I think that I have some concerns from the point of view that it's not coming on as we anticipated. That's my concern. But also, I believe that we just said that that refinery cannot be here. I'm just talking about subsidy. I can't see it because the subsidy is due to importation and so on, and the rate of exchange.
Yes.
And then also, I've not even talked about that. Today, Nigeria, because of the priority we put on importation of refined products, Nigeria dedicates 30% foreign exchange. Dedicates, that means you get official foreign exchange. The rate of foreign, the rate at the official windows are 400 and outside is 500. Now, 400 and something, 30%. Dedicated for fuel importation. And so that would take, coming on stream, remove that demand automatically. So that demand pressure will be off the table.
Yes.
And so there are some things. And that demand pressure being off the table would also impact the exchange rate. Because, so we're talking about markets. The exchange rate is demand and supply.
Absolutely. And all this about Dangote Refinery, is because we are discounting of the fact that the 4 refineries that we have, are barely not functioning.
Right,
if they were functioning, I mean, they will account for a substantial ratio of what is needed and what is consumed.
I was going to say that they never accounted, and I think that it might not be realistic to expect them to they're going to account. In fact, I'm shocked that we're putting money there. Put money. It's like putting money down in a sinking hole. If you ask me. So so I think that the refineries are there, and what we should have done is that maybe we cannot offload them.
Well,
today.
With the PIA and the fact that NNPC would transmute into a commercially viable entity, it doesn't. I mean, a sensible decision will have to be taken on the refineries, so that we don't keep putting money down the drain.
Yes, I think that what we should do is prioritize them. But you see, what is happening that you have the modular refineries, since time of a passenger, licenses have been issued, and there have been They've taken, some have taken, but they've not commenced operations. Because you cannot put private investment in a regulated environment. When the environment is regulated, the market has to drive the thing. So, if the cost of doing refinery is an intensive investment. And so if nobody's going to give you money, lend you money, and with that sort of environment. That's why you don't have things coming on board. And so many things, we're excited. So Buhari had signed petroleum industry bill as a work on development, because that's the way to go. What that does automatically is that it returns some uncertainty to the oil market in Nigeria. And so people can now go and you have more investments. I tell you, we're saying that fuel is going to be discounted, electric cars are going to come on stream, and so on and so forth. But people forget that there are also other products. And for us, since we have it also, we wouldn't be rushing for electric cars. It wouldn't be rushing. I mean, of course, we'll try and make sure that we're not left behind in terms of the technology. If there's anything we need to do, like we're trying to do with digital currencies, so we're trying to do that. But then we wouldn't be rushing to embrace it because we have it here. Okay, and then you have so many things associated with it. You have to find natural gas. You have gas. And what people say to us is that Nigeria is a gas territory with some oil.
I believe that we're just flaring the gas.
Yeah, just flare. And so we wrongly did not capitalize on that resource.
If we take a look at the PIA itself, early on in this conversation, you talked about criticism to that 3%, and perhaps even though you want more than 3%, you're not going to get it. Yeah. You think that as it stands, that 3% is enough to what I was about to say to satisfy people, but I know it's not. But what can be done with that amount?
No, I think a lot could be done. But then if you look at Niger Delta Development Corporation, the same thing. They gave them, it's been getting money, so much money.
And did they say?
Yeah, it's Niger Delta Development Corporation. They've been getting money. What have they done with it? No, I say, yeah. And it becomes a cesspool for corruption. And that's the issue. So when you are crying and you say they're being neglected, and then you put a social arrangement in place that says, okay, let's try and dedicate some resources to you, and this money is being given to you, and then this money is being filtered away.